quick install video on the adapter ring that goes inside of the vents of the Stingers. You can use this on the middle, you can use it on the left, you can use it on the right. This is a cheaper version, 3D printed ABS. It's called the straight version because it has a straight viewing angle. You can still see it from the driver's seat, but it's a little more difficult. The secondary version is MJF printed. It's much more expensive, but it's also a lot higher quality and allows me to print them without support in the back. This does not have support, which is why it's much cheaper. But we have two options. We're going to do a quick install. Once you take your dash panel out, you'll take a section out, these vents. It'll be a long rectangular piece. You can see the two original ears here, but it's cut. Yours will be like this. Pick which vent you want to take out. I have a separate video. If you look at the boost gauge install, one of my older videos, that shows me taking the black rectangle piece I'm talking about. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start the process on this. So you're going to take your screwdriver and you've got to pull back on this black piece towards here and pull up like so. You're going to be taking this tab and prying it up to release it like so. So there's 2, 3, 4, 3. There's poor counting skills. What's that one? Sometimes they walk back a little. So there's your ring. Now at this point, what you guys will have is this trim piece will be a long 3 section. There's one here, one here, one here. I cut mine because I've done a little modification to mine. So you'll have this trim ring. Go ahead and set this aside. You're going to be reusing this. This is what you'll be left with. So what you're going to want to do now, back to your pry tool, and you're going to be releasing these tabs. Not these ones. Not the ones that are on this side, but the ones that are over here. The ones with the little silver doohickeys. So you want to push this silver trim that way with your thumb, or any other finger if you prefer, and get under it. And just push a little bit. It's going to be a little finicky, might take you a second, but no big deal. You got all the time. Key. This one wants to click back. I don't let that bother me too much. Okay. Not a very good screwdriver. It doesn't stick in very well. Those ones out. And we'll go to this one. There we go. Okay, so just take your time. These tabs, they're not super fragile, but you want to be careful with them. Don't bend them too much. Just take your time. Save this piece. This is all revertible. If you want to go back to stock, this is completely revertible. So save this piece. Set it aside. Now, quick overview here. This is the ring. This is your trim piece. On these, there is a top and a bottom. These will usually only fit in one way. Every other way, they just kind of flop around. So on this ring, you can see here, it says center right-hand top. The top is really the only relevant part. Let's see. It's this way. You'll know when you have it right here, because it actually falls in and locks. Otherwise, it sits up. But once you have the orientation right, it sits in there. In this case, it happens to be the silver tab that falls into that slot right there. So that'll be important for in a minute. So here's your ring. These tabs on the side are meant to lock into here. This is where 3D printing accuracy comes into of importance. Most of these right out of the box should snap in no problem. However, there is a chance that these tabs might be right here. These might be ever so slightly too tall. And we'll get to that in a second. I have not modified this one. You can see it's not sanded. So we'll go ahead and we'll see if it fits. These do not have an orientation to them. Simply line up one of the notches with one of your tabs and push in. Okay, so as you can see, that one is completely flush. Put this one in. That one locked in nicely. That one's locked. And that one locked. There we go. So this one did not need any sanding at all, which is what I expect from most of them, but on the off chance that it does need sanding, you're going to want to go ahead. You can do it with a razor blade if you're very careful and just scrape it a little bit, or you can just sand ever so slightly there, just so that it clears this tab and sinks in. But that's all it takes to put that ring in there. And then your gauge actually fits in here, and these tabs will squeeze the gauge nice and tight, and then also allows you to pull the gauge out. So once you put this back in your dash, if you need to pull the gauge out, redo the wiring, switch the gauge, you're good to go. You can just pull it out, switch the gauge, slip it back in. You can also, it'll let you rotate the gauge. Gives you that freedom. As you can see, the face is pretty clean. So for the cheaper version, this is going to work well. This will work in your left vent, right vent, or your center vent, whatever you want. The only thing here that is a bit of a pain is that you're going to have to do a little bit of gluing. Super simple. I would recommend something like E6000. You can get it at Walmart or Lowe's. You can also use silicone if you'd prefer, whatever you have. This ring here, this landing, make sure I can show you. It's this landing right here, the very top one. It is where this silver ring lands on this ring. So as you can see, the stock one, this piece snapped into this piece, which then this piece snapped into this piece. So we don't have that, but that's no big deal. So all you got to do is take your E6000 and put a nice thin glue bead here. It's a bit overkill if you go all the way around. I'll be honest with you there. It's going to make removing it later a bit of a pain. But if you want to, by all means, go ahead. It'll still be perfectly removable. E6000 is very strong. Just go ahead and put a little thin bead right here, probably about 1/16 of an inch high, or just under the thickness of a toothpick. Just a nice little bead. I'm just trying to emphasize here, right on the bottom of this. All the way around here. Take your gauge ring, line up your tab, like that, put it in. Just the weight alone should be fine, but it would be advisable to find a spot to set this, set it down, then take something and put some weight on it and let it dry. This is going to take about, I think it's 4 hours to set up. It's usually pretty dry. You're not really going to put any force on this when you put it back in the dash, because once you put it in, the upholstery trim inside the dash panel actually pushes down on this outside. So I would wait 12 hours if you can. Wait 24 hours just to be safe. But that's all it takes to do that. And then if you need to uninstall it, all you got to do is take your screwdriver or a pry tool, push up on this tab nice and gentle. Like so. Take the ring out. Take your vent. You're going to want to orient your up. In this case, up should be this up angle. I do believe the foam's on the bottom. Let's see. It'll only fit one way, so don't let that bother you. It should go like this. Snap it back together like that. And then put this back in your dash trim. Just take your trim, put it in here. Line this back up. Yeah, that's the right way. And then, there you go. And it's back in. There's one note that I wanted to make about it. I'm just trying to remember what the heck it was here for a second. Alright, I remember. Since we're going to be removing this tube, there's going to be a tube inside of your dash that does no longer have this tube in it. Take a rag or a piece of foam, something good foam, closed cell, and just put it in. What I usually do is I'll take like a microfiber and just wad it up like so, and then fill that hole so that you don't have air blowing out inside your vents, and then of course it's revertible later. But that's all there is.